What up? What up? Hey, everybody. I'm just checking my volume. I think it's all the way up. What up? Hey, 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 hey. All right, it said that there were 4 people waiting, so I'm going to wait for a few more people to jump on this here live. I'm probably going to zoom in a little bit. There we go. Just a little bit of zooming in. Let me know if you can hear me. If you can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Should I close that a little? Does that help? Get the glare off the screen. I don't want it to be too dark in here though. I feel like we need a little bit of light. I think that's good. You guys let me know. It's windy here. It's very warm. But I'm just chilling in the van. Yes, you can hear me. Yay. So if you were on last night, the bonus Freaky Friday, we had this mic and it didn't seem to be working. So, but it's what's plugged in now. So the mic works. Apparently it's not a good outdoor mic, I guess. Guess I'll have to figure out another microphone for being outside. Anyway, thank you for joining me for the podcast live. Remember, this is the podcast live, so we are going to dedicate at least 20 minutes to the podcast. Then I will close this one out and open up another random chat for about 30 minutes, and that's it. So, by way of emoji hand, hey Pam, hi Irene. Let me know if you read the podcast by way of emoji hand. I just want to see who read it. I mean, not read it, listened to it. Oh my gosh, I always say that. Who listened to the podcast. It was a decent podcast. I thought it was good, talking about firsts. The main story is the story I'm going to kind of stick to. And that's the one about the young man having his mom visit him for the first time. So that's the one that we're going to kind of focus on, because they kind of jump all around in the podcast a little bit, but there's usually one main story and then they have little side stories. So we're going to stick to the main story about the young man who, his mom came to visit him after him being in prison for a little while. So I think I saw one emoji hand for reading it. Listening to the podcast. Wow, that's unfortunate. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up as you're walking in, or logging in rather. Hit that thumbs up for me real quick. Log out real quick and hit it, and then come back. I won't start for another couple of minutes, maybe 30 seconds or so. I'll give you 30 seconds to jump off. Hit the little X in the top to exit out. Hit the thumbs up at the bottom underneath the video. Hit the little thumbs up button and then jump back on the live. Hey Judy. Thanks for jumping on. So it looks like only 2 people listen to the podcast. I do have an upcoming video that I've edited this morning for today. I edited it today and I will upload it on Monday. Talking about some things, some family business we need to take care of. So this is kind of part of the family business, but I'm not going to do that. So I guess this is going to be a very short podcast. A very short live. So anyway, it's Ear Hustle, episode number 12, and it's entitled Firsts, as in the first thing or first things. And so the main story was a young man who, his mom wanted to visit him in prison, and he really didn't want her basically to visit him. And he finally let her come visit. So it was awkward. And he practiced. He had gone. I think he said it was 10 years since he had seen his mom. 10 years. No, 7 years since he had seen her, 10 years since he had touched her or something like that. So he was in his cell practicing how to hug. Like, do I hug like diagonal like this? Do I hug her above her shoulders and around her neck? Do I hug her under her arms? Like, he was trying to figure out how to hug. And one of the things that was said in the podcast by one of the other, I'm not sure if it was a host or another prisoner, but it said the healing power of touch goes a long way. So you think about it, you're in prison for many years, and you don't get to touch anyone. You don't get to hug anyone. You don't just get to have someone, show you a loving gesture like that, and it could be years without that. So imagine practicing how to hug your mom when she comes to visit you, like not knowing, how am I going to hug her? You know, what's appropriate, what's right, what's going to feel right? Do I let her just lead it and I kind of put my arms where hers aren't, like, you know, that kind of thing. So he was really nervous about that. No physical touch for years, these guys, men and women who are in prison. I shouldn't say guys. I say guys because the podcast is a male prison, but when I say that, just know that I mean all prisoners. So just like, wow, can you imagine not going, going 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40, 50 years without any kind of a loving gesture from someone. No hug, no one to hold your hand and talk to you, no one to, you know, stroke your face and tell you that they love you. Nothing. Like, I can't even imagine that, you know. So they said that the power of touch is a healing. The healing power of touch is what was said, and that really struck me. So this young man, and let me find his name because I have you can also get the transcripts. You can download the transcripts for free on the Ear Hustle website, and I've been doing that the last 2 months. So last month was the first time I did it. Let's see. What was the general young boy? Oh, Adnan. Yeah. His name was Adnan. So, I'm not talking about Michael. Michael is another person who they did a snippet of his story. But I'm talking about the main story, which was Adnan and his mother. So Michael also, I'll just touch on Michael. So Michael's story was, he basically wrote his family a letter telling them that he was done with them and that there was no reason for them to even basically come see him. Because y'all not coming to see me, y'all don't interact with me, so I'm done with you. So I guess he wrote this letter to this family, Michael did, and a week later he called his sister to be like, did you get the letter? And she was like, calm yourself down, mom's on her way to see you. So, when his mom got there, she explained to him they're basically homeless and it's a money thing. They can't come see him because of finances. Not everybody is housed in a prison near their family or even where their crime took place. A lot of people go to prisons in another city or town in their state, and it could be, 20 miles away. It could be 200 miles away. So it just depends on where you're being housed. And his mom had to remind him that they didn't leave him. They have financial reasons they weren't able to see him. And he said, you also left us by committing this crime. Basically, you left us. So you made that choice. So we're going to go to Adnan's story. I felt really bad for Adnan because apparently his mother left him when he was 16. So he was on his own from 16. She got with a man. I guess it didn't go into details as to why she did not. She one day just left him, went to a whole nother state with this man. So I don't know if the man didn't want her son. She apparently chose her man over her son. So I kind of feel bad for him because I felt like he was bound to end up somehow in prison because, being on your own at 16, not having any kind of way to make money or anything. So basically, he was young and he was dumb and he let a friend talk him into robbing someone. And the friend actually killed the person that they were robbing. And so now he's serving 25 years to life for being in the wrong place at the wrong time, hanging out with the wrong stupid person. So I felt like really, really bad for him because that's just sad, right? Your mom leaves you. You don't know what to do. You have no way to support yourself or take care of yourself. And you're living with friends who'll take you in and you're smoking weed or whatever, and you're high and you let a friend convince you into doing this crime, and then it ends up being a murder. And now you're pretty much spending the rest of your life in prison for that. Anyway, so he had mother issues, to say the least. So it had been a long time since he had seen her, and I think even talked to her. So they decided he decided to let her come visit, basically. And when she came, and he practiced hugging her. He said the day that she was supposed to come, he made sure he bought a new shirt and new pants and some new boots, and he polished his boots. He ironed his clothes really, nice, crisp, clean, because that's how his mom raised him. Up until that point, she had raised him how to keep his clothes really, clean and neat. And so he made sure he wanted to present himself that way when she saw him for the first time. And he had not had a visitor up until this point, so he didn't know the procedure for going through the visitor area. So there was another gentleman, prisoner in front of him, who was doing all these things, like putting his ID in the slot and different things like that, getting pat down. So he just followed this man's example. And when he got to the door and opened the door, his mom was standing right at the door. And the host of the podcast, Erlon, was saying that normally you have to like look in the room, like kind of find your person, because there's so many people in there sitting around that you kind of have to look for your person. But his mom made a point of standing right at the door, so that when he came through the door, he would see her. And he said that she looked pretty much the same. She still looked very youthful. But it was really, really nervous and nerve-wracking for him. And he felt really weak, and like his legs felt really weak. I'm scrolling through the transcript trying to find his parts. Sorry, guys. So that's why I keep looking down. My bad. And at this point, he's 30 years old. So she, it was a lot of small talk in the beginning. How are you doing? You look good, that kind of thing. And unfortunately, they had to sit in the kids section because there was no seating in the regular section. So he definitely just they sat in the kids section. So he said it was awkward watching all these kids playing with their moms while visiting, their dads in prison, playing, and he's sitting in the kids section with his mom after so many years. So basically, there was the big elephant in the room was the fact that she left him. They never addressed it. He never got to speak on it. And I'm just going to read this little excerpt. It says, Adnan had family problems from a very young age. Basically, his mom and dad divorced when he was 8, and his stepdad did not like him. And when he was 16, his mom left the state and Adnan to be with another man. So I don't know if that means the stepdad or she left the stepdad as well. So by 17, he was homeless and living on the streets of Pittsburgh, California, or with friends who took him in. And he's this is Adnan speaking. He says, so one day we were at a friend's house and we're smoking weed, we're getting high, watching 8 Mile by with Eminem, Eminem. And there was 4 guys hanging out, and one makes a suggestion. He says, look, man, I have a friend and he's square. He's not going to hurt anybody. He doesn't even carry weapons. He's not going to have a gun. He has about $1,000 worth of marijuana, and we can just take it. All you have to do is take it, get in the car, drive off. He said, I didn't even think about it. I was just like, yeah. So things didn't go as planned. And the guy with the weed ended up getting killed by Adnan's partner. Adnan says his partner stabbed him to death. So Adnan went from living on the streets to being a juvenile lifer, serving 25 years to life for robbery murder. So his mom, while they were in the visiting center, he asked his mom, there's like vending machines, because the visiting time is like from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So there's like vending machines. If you get hungry, you can buy stuff out of the vending machines. So he's asked his mom for ice cream. Snickers ice cream bar is something they don't get at all, really. Ice cream maybe once a month or so, he said. So they got they had sat down with their ice cream, and it was like weird for him to be sitting down eating ice cream. He was having a really hard time having discussions with his mom. I think it's because they didn't address the bigger picture of why'd you leave me, that kind of thing. So it was a really strained relationship, I'm sure. So they enjoyed their ice cream together, and he said the time was going by so slowly that he wanted it to be over. He wanted the visit to just be over. Let me go back down. So then his mom decided to drop pretty much a heavy weight on him, which I felt was really disappointing. In my mind, it was just disappointing that she would do that. But she basically put the weight of her spirituality on him. So it says, the relaxed feeling didn't last too long because soon after my mom asked me a question about spirituality. And she said that she was struggling with her spirituality because I'm in prison and why was this happening to me? She was saying, why is it difficult to make all 5 of her prayers? I'm assuming she may be Muslim or something. They pray 5 times a day. I'm not sure. She was saying, why is it difficult to her to get up in the morning? Why is it difficult for her to pray at night before she goes to sleep? And she's actually asking me questions like she wants a solution from me. I found it difficult to answer her and I felt horrible about it. And that's when the announcement was made that there was 30 minutes left for the visit. And I got excited. I'm glad it was over. I just wanted to close out. She started telling me how good she feels and that I feel so happy and I feel so relieved. Like, it's so good to see you. You look so good. You look so well. You look so good. You look handsome. So I think that was really kind of, for lack of a better word, effed up of her, because why would you do that? Why would you put all of your all that on your son? Like, it's not up to him to you know, help your spirituality. It's not up to him to make you feel comfortable because of what you did. So I felt really bad for this young man. Anyway, after they finally leave, he says that their relationship is better. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be normal, probably until he gets out. But he feels like he's always going to have a distance from his mother, no matter if he's in prison or not, just because of the things that have happened in the past. Sounds like he probably would benefit from some kind of therapy, I guess. But so that's the main story of the podcast episode first. There's lots of side stories, so I definitely want you guys to go back who didn't listen to it and just listen to it. Like I always say, you guys can listen to these podcasts on your commute to and from work. You can listen to them while you're cleaning the house. I just want to point out that the next podcast for April is going to be a heavy one. So I'm totally get it if a lot of people don't want to listen to it. It is about sex trafficking. So, but I feel like I was going to skip that one, but I kind of feel like there's so much of that in the news. There's so much, there's so many crimes committed against women and girls, especially women and girls of color, that I really want to touch on this because this is a woman of color who was sex trafficked by a man of color. So a black woman and a black man. So I do want to listen to the episode. I totally get it. If it's a trigger for you, you don't want to listen, you don't want to come on the podcast, you don't want to come on the live, that's fine. I get it. But I don't want to skip this episode because I feel like it's something that needs to be talked about and it needs to be addressed. So that is April's podcast and it's number 13. And I don't remember the title of it, but I will be putting it in the calendar after this, probably tomorrow, later tonight or tomorrow. So anyway, there are only 30 people on, and I'm so shocked. We normally have way more than that, but that's cool. So I'm going to say goodbye to this podcast, and then I'm going to jump on in about 10 or 15 seconds. Well, maybe give me 20 or 30 seconds to upload another one. And we're going to do a live, just regular old random chat for about 30 minutes, and then I'm going to call it a night. Thanks, guys, for watching. Thanks for listening to the